Okay then, so we've got the top 3, but there was some awesome bikes all around here. Like we say, 8 of the best sports bikes. Let's run down from 4th to 8th. 4th position
was the BMW S1000RR. Again, you know, very little to criticise about that bike, but ultimately it feels it's getting on a bit. You know,
but it was close between that and the GSX-R, which was coming into 3rd position, wasn't it?
It was, but all these bikes are close.
Yeah.
You know, we're just having to pick holes in things. You know, and I say it's almost unfair to criticise these bikes so heavily, but that's our job, and that's what we need to do. Still, literally a bit loose. The thing was, you're pretty on the R1 is so composed. No matter how hard you ride it, it just sort of seems to stay in line, and everything, the dots seem to join seamlessly. Whereas this, you got it's a bit loose. It just gets a bit flighty and a bit.
That's not a characteristic of a BMW, though, is it?
When you're trying to compete with the racier brethren, then it
starts to show its true colours.
And it is an old bike, you know. It's been revamped and revamped, and we got a lot of stick for saying it's an old bike, but essentially it is, you know.
Yeah.
It's the same as it was in 2010,
and everything's just come on.
Exactly.
Just like that. Yeah. 5th place.
I think the other thing to remember as well is that at that
you know me. Go on, tell us. Tell us what you want.
I was going to say, obviously, when you're saying about how close the bikes were, you know, in the initial stages, we're obviously riding on the R10s, which are fantastic tyres, but you know, these bikes have pretty much all gone like a second a lap quicker, second and a half quicker on slicks, which is really impressive, you know. But when you're talking about essentially a street legal sports tyre, which is a great tyre, you know, you get a different sensation from the chassis. I mean, these bikes get transformed, you know, going into corners, through corners, out of corners. So it's just more kind of, you know, reiterating, you know, why some bikes were really close, you know, making that cut. But yeah, the BMW was that bike that just lost out.
5th place.
Fireblade.
Yeah? All right. Everyone was a bit unsure about it in the morning. First thing yesterday.
You have to ride it, and you really have to do a lot of miles to sort of figure it out and figure its foibles and idiosyncrasies, and there are a lot of them. The ride-by-wire is
so aggressive,
to say the least. It's the least powerful, but it's good fun. You know, you don't need 200 horsepower all the way.
Felt like an 800 round here, didn't you? We were absolutely rinsing it everywhere, and that kind of felt good.
Every time you were on it.
But it's true. Yeah, that's what was great about it. On some of these, they're so powerful. You've got a feather sometimes. On that, you could just go for it.
It was the most fun bike for me. Like I have and the SP is my long-term bike, and I really wanted that to do well. And when I came here on the launch, I was really impressed with the bike. And I mean, me and Al were out riding yesterday, and it was just ridiculous. Like, you were on the R1, and I was really trying as hard as I could, and I was sliding, I was kind of weaving on the brakes. I was really pushing the limits, and the ground clearance issue as well with the pegs,
and jumping into neutral.
That happened to all of us, didn't it?
Yeah, every single one.
Unfortunately,
in gear, on the gas, accelerating out of a turn, and it would jump out of gear.
Yeah,
which was a bit scary at times.
Yeah.
But it is. It's not a bad bike, is it?
No, it's a great bike.
It's not a bad bike.
But again, you're at the point now where you're trying to nitpick the small things to get some sort of hierarchy.
But there are plenty of the criticisms with the Fireblade. That's the thing.
It's only through rider management that you get around a lot of the hang-ups. It's only because I guess we're experienced and you're used to tyre sliding and stuff like that, you just accept that's happening. You know how to moderate the throttle or whatever. It's like when dropping off over the waterfall here, the anti-wheelie, geez, if you had any traction on, you have to have the anti-wheelie. That gives you a good old whack where you don't want a whack. You know, when that thing kicks in, it's...
Some people have had some sore down below areas, let's put it that way, the last 2 days.
That was just last night.
So that's a shame you can't. It's a shame. It's a shame you can't differentiate from the two. It's a bit of a miss, to be honest with you.
So then 6th place.
The ZX-10.
That's been quite quiet.
Silent assassin, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fast, but it's kind of serene. I really enjoyed it.
It's an armchair. It's a Superbike armchair, isn't it? I mean, it's so stable. It doesn't put a foot wrong, but ultimately the engine is a little bit lackluster, below 10 grand.
It's that pickup out of a corner that I just found myself saying, you know, come on, I want a bit more than this, and then it would rock it off. That's the crazy thing about it. It's like, I don't know what gear ratios are in that bike, but you know, in my mind, you know, they're the wrong ones.
It's like a 600. It feels like a 600 below 10 grand, and then you just go. All hell lets loose.
But it's a beautiful handling bike, really stable.
Really stable. It's too
really
long.
Comfy.
It feels like it's too long. That's the thing. It doesn't join the dots like these. Like, it's just ultimately it loses well, I think it was like a 1.5, 2 seconds slower than some of the top end bikes. So.
Nice. Seventh
place is the Ducati 1299 Panigale.
The animal.
Yes.
Which you love. You'd put that in first place, wouldn't you?
No.
Every time you came back, you were like, I love this bike.
I do. If this was a personal, what bike I would buy personally for myself, not a work thing. Yeah. Okay. Then it would be in my top 3 because I just love the fact it tries to kill me everywhere. I like the fact it's bucking and weaving and sliding, but going for a fast lap time, which these ex-racers want to do, it's a complete nightmare, isn't it, right?
It was a handful.
Yeah, it's an absolute, it just wants to kill you everywhere.
Ties itself in knots. I mean, that engine as well, it's literally like riding a motocross. It's got so much punch and I mean, you get through the revs really quick on it. You've got to keep throwing gears at it. Yeah. But then, for that very reason as well, I found it quite unsettled. You know, it's like that power is so aggressive. I mean, another problem with it, I said earlier, was the brakes are really, really good. They're almost too good for the bike.
Definitely.
You know, it ties itself in knots. You know, with that front end in particular. I mean, it's a great bike, but even on the throttle, I found I had to learn finesse on that bike, because if you just wind back a little bit, it seems to have this effect on the rear wheel. It just pulls you back and settles the bike mid corner, and then you're not able to set those fast lap times. I wasn't personally, you know, that you can on something like one of these.
It's 3 seconds off.
Yeah, it's like trying to ride a blazing. It's a blazing argument. You're trying to ride a blazing argument underneath you, aren't you? Basically, a big cat fight going on. I kind of like that, but I kind of like that. But you know, when it comes to what we're doing here, it's what we need Troy Bayliss or Chaz Davis to turn up to.
It's the Super Quadro engine and that sort of monocoque chassis. It's lived its life, and that's why the V4's come in. Yeah, and there'll be a new one next year. But ultimately, that's it. That's the end of that model range now. So. Yeah,
and that's the end of 7th place.
Yes,
maybe
7th. And finally, the R6 in last place.
Yeah, I want to say straight away with that bike, you know, if you are looking for a super sport machine, that bike's a cracker. I mean, it's a really, really good handling machine. It's loads and loads of fun. Yeah. I mean, it was never going to win. It's a 600cc against 200 horsepower
and it
super
had nothing to compare itself against.
No.
Because we were supposed to have
MVs,
and you could have had a little
shootout.
Shootout between the smaller bikes, but that just. It was like a duck out of water on
but it's new, so it needed to be here. And I'll tell you what, everyone that got off it, apart from that clown shoe shock that was pogoing like crazy,
which you could dial out.
Yeah,
which I don't think you could.
I don't think you could. No, do you reckon it's just not good enough?
That shock is. They say, it's been tweaked here and tweaked there. They put really good forks on it. They put, the front end is now fantastic, but they left the shock, and it's still it's like an eight-year-old shock. It probably cost you £5 down the market. It's tough. No, it is. It's such a shame they put all that effort into that and just left the shock.
But we rode that bike on the launch we rode it with some very good suspension in it, and that really highlighted the quality of that bike. And it is a great chassis. And
if you want to learn corner speed, ride that bike. Forget all these things. It masks deficiencies. It sort of hides you from the real world. If you want to learn corner speed, that's
everyone who got off it was happy. And that was brilliant. And had loads of fun. The only problem is probably I don't know about you. I'd get bored in about half a day, but that's just me. But it's so much bike. You stick some good shock in it.
A blipper.
Get that exhaust off.
And it will be. Well, you guys rode the.
Yeah, we rode the unrestricted one, and actually it was light and day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was it was unbelievable, the power difference. Yeah, it was.
It's got potential.
Yeah, good bike.
Basically.
Job done.
Pint,
Pints.
drink.
Pints.
Nice.
Many pints.
Come on, Jeds. Drinks on you.